O Show. This is the Big 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 O Show.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
Welton Rayom has more than 62 years of litigation experience handling insurance disputes. They're committed to resolving even the toughest insurance claims quickly. Call them for a free consultation. 954-966-4646. At Welton Rayom, they don't get paid unless you win. Property damage claims to your home, business, or condo as a result of a hurricane. Welton Rayom can help. Water, mold, fire, smoke damage, Welton Rayom can help. Call 954-966-4646.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
Why is it that you get locked out in the worst moments of your life?
Where are my car keys? Man, I can't find my house keys.
In those frustrating moments, you need a locksmith you can count on. A. Lenny Locksmiths in South Florida, from Miami to Port St. Lucie. In Central Florida, A. Lenny locks it down in Orlando and Tampa Bay. Lockouts or lock changes for home or business, car key replacements, and programming all model cars. 24-hour service. Call them at 855-869-5625. Go to the website at alennylocksmith.com.
Oh, I think I know what this is. Houston, we have a package. Hello?
No matter where you are, the Sloman Shield home security system guards your home. With next-gen perimeter protection, 24/7 monitoring, and interior motion sensing. And right now, get a free Sloman Shield security system and doorbell camera, all professionally installed, for free.
Shield your world, the Sloman Shield.
When you move, you need a reliable company led by passionate folks, eager to assist its customers during a transitional process that needs to be smooth. Call Essential Moving Experts at 844-368-5750 for all your local and long-distance moving needs. You can rely on Essential Moving Experts. Mention the Big O Show and get $150 off. Family owned and operated, they offer free 30-day storage, full-service moving, fully licensed, bonded, and insured. Moving was never so easy. EssentialMovingExperts.com.
For over 16 years, EJDConstruction.com has provided South Florida residents quality craftsmanship, accurate project management, and exceptional service. That's why EJDConstruction.com is an A-rated member of Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. When you're looking for the right custom home builder for additions or home remodeling, please call my friend Eric at 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDConstruction.com.
Welcome to Red Light Therapy, a revolutionary technology perfected by NASA to aid in muscle strengthening and recovery. Red and infrared light has the capacity to penetrate deep into the cell's mitochondria, potentially leading to increased energy, faster recovery, and the optimal performance your body demands. Train, fight, recover.
Statements or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website. When it comes to South Florida sports teams, very few in the media have witnessed, lived, and covered it like the Big O. Let's start the program dedicated to your favorite South Florida teams with a passion that's unmatched. The Big O Radio Show is on. Here's the Big O.
Morning, baby. Hope you all are feeling well. It is a little hump day. Good day today, man. We got the heated action tonight, opening up against the Bulls. Yes, sir. A little heat action tonight. We got the Panthers also taking on the Flyers. We're a day closer for Tua starting for the Miami Dolphins. Oh, that's right. We also have Duke and Miami on Saturday. We'll be at Walk-Ons in Kendall, Mike McCoy, myself, and, of course, the man, the myth, the legend that is the Sean Stanley mastering this program. He'll be with us out there enjoying those mozzarella logs. Boy, he loved them mozzarella logs over at Walk-Ons. Plus, we're going to have taste testing from Edge Energy Drink. We're going to have the lovely lady from Edge Energy Drink. I know there's going to be a beer company there, too. We'll have prizes. We'll give away Perdomo stuff. We'll give away Caneswear stuff. I mean, got it going, man. We got to go in on. So we got all kinds of giveaways. So come on out there and join us at Walk-Ons in Kendall on Saturday. So got a lot of good things happening, man. By the way, nice job by Barry Jackson. I know Barry doesn't give us any credit, but, you know, that's not how I roll. So we're objective. We can compartmentalize even when they don't treat us fairly. But that's all right, Barry. But good job on your part because, you know, one of the things that I've enjoyed is crushing all the stupid Tua myths out there, right? Oh, he's got a noodle arm. Oh, he's too short. Oh, he can't play. This, that, right? And then the other thing was, well, you know, he's not sociable and he doesn't really get along with his teammates. Even our boy Omar called him a weirdo, which none of it was true. It was never true. You know, like some guy tweeted back at me today after I complimented Barry. He goes, well, yeah, I guess he learned from Fitz. No, dude, no. He didn't learn from Fitz. It's that he had Flo around. And Flo pretty much told him he didn't want him around. And so it's hard for you to try to dominate a locker room when your head coach is cock blocking you. That's what people don't understand. Tua was very sociable with his teammates at Alabama. Do you know why? Because Saban loved him. Because Saban gave him the locker room. Because Saban, you know, just adored the kid. So he trusted him with his life. I mean, when he throws that interception in the national championship game, he puts his arm around Saban and says, hey, coach, everything's going to be all right. You just can't do that to Saban. Not a lot of people are going to do that, allow you to do that. So let me ask you something. A guy that puts his arm around Saban and says, everything's going to be all right, coach, does that sound to you like a guy that isn't sociable? How effing stupid are these narratives around Tua? So thank you. Thank you, Barry Jackson. I appreciate you, bro. You're helping me out in this cause because I seem to be one of the few people in the media that actually understood this kid, knew that he could play, instead of all these stupid-ass narratives that have come out. And so Duke Riley says to Barry Jackson, I've never been on a team in the NFL that has a quarterback that spends that much time with his teammates, to be honest with you. In a private moment in the locker room, I've never been invited to play golf with a quarterback ever, and he's invited me. Now, Duke Riley's not normally the big player in a locker room, right? So Barry writes that they saw him joke around with Brandon Jones and Eric Rowe several minutes during the stretching portion of Friday's practice, which, by the way, I think Sean and I have mentioned to you. When we walk in the locker room, we see Tua socializing with people all the time. All different guys. He was talking about how he's going to kick our butts in practice, Rose said with a smile. We're like, okay, all right. And so Tua on Friday walked over to Riley's locker room, chatted for about 15 minutes. When he got injured in Cincinnati, says everybody was worried about him because everybody has a relationship with him, Riley said. Durham Smythe, Tua's personality and energy being back on the field, it really brings everyone's spirits. He's more vocal, Rose said. Last year and the year prior, he wasn't really saying much. This year, he's speaking a little more, talking, taking command, not just the offense, but the team. He reaches out to everybody in the locker room. He doesn't just talk to people on the offense. He talks to players on defense, specialists. He'll ask me about personal life questions. He invites me all the time, Riley says. If I lived closer, I'd probably be there almost every day. He's got a pool table, ping pong table. He's got like a mini putt-putt thing outside to play golf in the yard, a movie theater. He invites me over for karaoke all the time. His family sings a lot. It's uplifting. He has relationships with, knows something about everyone on the team. That makes Tua, Tua. He asked me about my kids because my little boy's uncle played for Alabama, Irving Smith said, a tight end for the Vikings. He's got a relationship with my son, which is an amazing thing too. That's the type of person that Tua is. Goes on and on. You know, terrific article by Barry. And I like it because it crushes all these narratives. You know? And you know, like I've had a blast with the whole Justin Herbert thing because there's too many of you idiots out there that you just get enamored with physical ability and you don't understand that there's more to quarterbacking than just physical ability. And so one of the things that I've enjoyed about this entire offseason and Mike McDaniel taking over is that this young man now gets to be himself. See, that's the problem. The problem is the narrative was spun around the wrong way. Okay, he wasn't as sociable the last 2 years because the coach did not allow him to be sociable, because the coach did not want him around, because the coach did not want him to start. The coach did not want to draft him. So it's hard to take over something when the person above you doesn't want you around. So the guy that takes over embraces him right away and makes him the man and then allows you to grow. Look, I've said this over and over again. You want to have a kid? Go have a kid, but never talk to the kid. Never socialize with the kid. Never give it a hug. Never tell your kid you love it. See how that relationship turns out. Go buy a plant. Never water it. Never pay attention. See how that works out. Adopt a dog. Please don't do this. And just throw it in a corner and throw food at it and never give it love, never give it attention. See how that relationship turns out. There isn't a relationship with anything on the planet that doesn't need to be nurtured. Do you understand that? I don't care if it's your car. You got to nurture it with an oil change. You got to put water, antifreeze, whatever. It needs love. It needs attention. Everything needs attention. Everything needs love. So if there is no communication, there is no way something is going to specifically grow. And that's why you're watching the kid grow this year, because there's a person that's watering the plant. There's a person that's actually hugging the child. There's a person that's actually communicating. There's a person that's actually allowing you to grow. So that's why these false narratives are created. The kid was super sociable with his guys at Alabama, but you don't see it because he doesn't let us in there. That's just the way it is. Lots of athletes are like that they socialize only with the people in their circle, and they don't care about us. Too bad. Live with it. That's the way it goes. All right. Does Kurt Heelan have I sent him a link there, Sean. Can we send him another one there or wake him up? Or can you reach out and tap him out there? Because we got to get the boys going here. We got opening night with the Miami Heat tonight here. Let's bring Ira aboard here. We await Kurt Heelan for the top of the hour in our redrecover.com Inside the Paint show. Ira, I'm reading your Oladipo stuff this morning, and you start to wonder, and hindsight's 2020 now, did the Heat make a mistake now? And did they fall for the banana in the tailpipe thinking, yeah, we can repair him, we can fix him. Yeah, he's Steve Austin. We can make him bigger, stronger, faster than ever. And dun, 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 as I date myself, it has not worked out. Now you're starting a season, and here he is injured. Same old, same old.
I tell everyone this. Until the season starts, you don't believe anything. You wait and see what happens. What's going to happen in opening night? So we go out to the Bahamas. Victor Oladipo practices some, but not all the time. Okay. We come back to training camp here in the continental U.S. We're hearing Vic's going to sit out early. It's more important he gets his work in. Okay. Then we see Vic in 2 exhibition games, and it's like, oh, my God, who is that person? It's not Victor Oladipo. But they say it's a process. We have a full week off, the Heat say, before the season opener. Okay. And then all of a sudden he's not practicing yesterday. And then they announce he's out for the opener. And now they announce that it's the opposite knee because of a compensatory injury. So Big O, so much was riding on this, including the fact of starting Tyler Hero at shooting guard, because it leaves you with no shot creation off the bench whatsoever. Now, they'll stagger their lineups. You'll see that tonight against Chicago. They'll take Jimmy out early, bring him back with the reserve. Same thing with Tyler Hero. But to give the kind of money they gave Victor Oladipo, $18 million over 2 years, I don't know how the contract is written. I do not believe there were any health clauses that cover the Heat. I guess if they declare him out for the season, they would get an injured player exception, but that would put him in the luxury tax. So, yeah, I think they and myself might have overstated Victor Oladipo on what he could be. And I guess you do reach a point, Big O, where when a player is injured often enough and then turns 30, maybe you're correct, Big O. Maybe you are fooling yourselves.
Okay, so here's the problem, too. And the beauty of experience for you and me and people that get older, it sucks. Our bodies break down. But the beauty is we have perspective. And I go back to the blood clot days. And, okay, you're coming into the lineup. You're out of the lineup. You're into the lineup. And see, now we get into this problem now. So if the young guys start getting in a groove and then Oladipo all of a sudden gets healthy, too bad, so sad. I'm sorry. You need to turn the page, as Bob Seger would say. You can't go back to that bullshit that they did before with the blood clot days, in, out, in, out, in, out, and then Spo is constantly adjusting. So if things start to work out, if they do find somebody off the bench that is giving consistency, and there is, Stella found her groove, I'm sorry, dude, you got to move on from Oladipo. Here we go. Let's move on. This is the catch-22 that this coach has now put himself in, unfortunately, because of this decision. But you better go with what works with right away.
And I'll get into this more with Kurt when we get into our RedRecover.com Inside the Paint show. But the thing is, you don't have a strong plan B. That the best you can hope for now if Victor Oladipo can't play is Gabe Vincent plays his best Gabe Vincent game. But there's a bar there. The best of Gabe Vincent, I don't think, no offense, Gabe, will match the best of Victor Oladipo when he was an all-star and an all-NBA player in Indiana. So
that may never happen again, Ira.
You're lowering your benchmark. You're lowering your hopes. Opening night is a time when it's supposed to be of great hope and realization, and then you sort of get hit over the head with this, that Victor Oladipo is not available for opening night. And I almost wonder a week from now, and I'm out in Portland and we do our show a little bit later, if Victor Oladipo makes the first trip of the season. Or then do we hear Victor Oladipo is remain behind to work on his conditioning and his rehab. Oh, that's when I'll really be concerned, when he starts being away from the team again. But there is no plan B. Like your thought there, when Chris Bosh had the blood clot, so you couldn't keep waiting and you had to go for someone else. With Alonzo Mourning, when he had the kidney illness, they did go somewhere else. They went to Anthony Mason, and it was wonderful until Zoe came back for those playoffs against Charlotte, and you got in trouble that year. But it's not like there is a plan B. So if you're saying to me, Ira, plan A is the hope of Victor Oladipo, plan B is the best of Gabe Vincent, I'm probably holding out for the hope of Victor Oladipo at least a little at this point. But yes, it is a
but wait a minute. But if one of them comes off the bench to start giving you just consistency, I think you have to ride with that than the hope of something that has never materialized.
Consistency is mediocrity. Consistency is mediocrity. And if you're looking for consistency, you're looking for mediocrity. And as we will talk about on redrecover.com Inside the Paint, then you become no better than the Lakers. Oh, hi, Kurt. And so we'll get to that also. So, yeah, plenty to talk about today, that's for sure.
All right,
1 hour. Games, man.
That's right. 1 hour of hardcore NBA and Miami Heat talk coming your way right now. The redrecover.com Inside the Paint Show with Ira Winderman and Kurt Heelan. Next.
Welcome to Red Light Therapy, a revolutionary technology perfected by NASA to aid in muscle strengthening and recovery. Red and infrared light has the capacity to penetrate deep into the cell's mitochondria, potentially leading to increased energy, faster recovery, and the optimal performance your body demands. Train, fight, recover.
The viewpoint, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyAccess.com, Media Group Inc., ownership, management, sponsors, or website. NBA fans, it's time for the RedRecover.com Inside the Paint Show with Ira Winderman and Kurt Heelan. RedRecover.com helps pros and everyday warriors heal on the go with our medical-grade, highly specialized devices designed for each area of the body. Use code BIG-O to get a 10% discount. Let's hit the hardwood with some of the best insiders in the NBA. Here's Ira Winderman and Kurt Heelan.
And welcome into another weekly RedRecover.com Inside the Paint Show. He's Kurt Heelan from NBCSports.com and Pro Basketball Talk, and I'm Ira Winderman from the Sun Sentinel, but you probably already know that. Kurt, we're at a point where it's actually for real. It actually means something, and obviously you saw yesterday with the Lakers, and they started their season and where they stand with that. So let's sort of look at where we are right now with the NBA, with the Miami Heat, real quick at the top of our show. First of all, last night, we got a couple of season opening games. Interesting at the start. The Celtics look very Celtics, and the Lakers look very Lakers. Of course, the Warriors also look very Warriors. So give me a quick takeaway. Only 2 games on the schedule last night, national television only. Kurt, the start of the NBA season. Any surprises? What did it mean to you?
I don't think there were huge surprises, were there? Look, the second game we can sum up really quickly. The Lakers can't shoot. The Warriors can shoot.
Yes,
that's your ball game, man. That pretty much sums it up. Beyond their what do you do with Russell Westbrook issues, it really just that team can't shoot. They were bad in the preseason. They've been bad now. I think you summed up the first game pretty well. The Celtics looked like they picked up where they left off, didn't they? Like they just, hey, we're back. We're going to run. Their transition was good. Brogdon gave them 15 points and quality minutes off the bench. The Jays each had 35. Like they're flowing. The one takeaway I would say that it was a little different, a little that I didn't expect, and we'll see. It's a long season, but Philadelphia's bench was terrible. Like their improved bench was 3 for 14 for 11 points as a bench. Like it was not improved. It was terrible. And defensively, like we know James Harden's bad, but Harden and Maxey were just getting torched, and spacing that they can use in Boston with Al Horford, with their centers, like it really gave Philadelphia problems. There wasn't anybody at the rim. Guys were just getting torched. Philadelphia, for a team I really liked on paper, didn't impress me. Now, it's one game against the Celtics at the start of the season. So like, I'm going to go down that road really far, but like, I thought Maxey was a better defender than that. And he looked like a traffic cone out there half the night.
Yeah, it's obviously early, and I don't want to rush to judgments early. We will get to the Heat opener, by the way, tonight, Chicago Bulls, 7:30, FTX Arena. Wanted to get a quick look at last night. One thing that struck me last night, Kurt, was one thing about last season's start of the season. Remember when everyone said the two Jays couldn't play together, and it's an either-or with Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, and how far we've come? So because of that, there was a solid month last year, Kurt, when the Celtics got off to their horrible start, when everyone said, you've got to break up the two Jays. This isn't working. So people, small sample size theater, please keep your perspective, whether it's the Celtics and the Sixers last night, whether it's the Lakers and the Warriors, or whether it's the Heat and the Bulls tonight. Again, 82-game marathon, we have to pull back. Game 2 last night, Warriors are just great. They were great. They will be great. The way they've set up their salaries, they are going to be great. What I found really interesting about the Lakers box score is this. There were only 2 players on the Lakers to make more than one three-pointer. One was a former Heat player you might have heard of, LeBron James. Another was a former Heat player we're finally hearing from again in Kendrick Nunn. Kurt, your thoughts on Kendrick Nunn, because it's a local story down here, what he can do for the Lakers, and based on what I saw last night, they need a few more Kendrick Nunns, don't they?
Oh, they do. They've been one of the things that the Lakers internally have really counted on for improvement this year was just getting Kendrick Nunn back. He did not play last year due to injury. He can shoot the three. He's a solid defender. He makes smart decisions. He gives them a little extra shot creation. I mean, he just kind of he checks a lot of boxes that the Lakers clearly desperately need. But the shooting is they're going to ask a lot of him. I mean, LeBron James was their best three-point shooter last season, it's not good. Like, I like nothing against LeBron, but if LeBron's your best three-point shooter, you're in trouble. And it kind of was that way again last night. Nunn brings them. I mean, they're just leaning hard into him. Let me just say, every time you talk to them, whether it's Darvin Ham or people behind the scenes, they're banking on him being the guy they paid for to help turn this thing around. And I thought, look, he was solid in the preseason. I thought he was solid last night. I think, this is he's not going to step up. He's not, you were talking about Oladipo. Kendrick Nunn's not going to be an all-star, but for what they're paying him, he can be a quality rotation player every night. And right now, those might be in short supply out west. Well, at least in that team. Like the other team in LA's got like rotation guys to spare.
Right, in droves. And the reason I want to use that to sort of as a comparative, and by the way, the chat board is blowing up. I will get to that. Please smash the like buttons as you go along here on our redrecover.com Inside the Pain show. The commonality I saw last night was the Lakers don't have a bench. I mean, oh my God, it's awful.
Yes.
Like you said, the Sixers, we thought have a bench. And again, DeAnthony Melton, and Daniel House, they'll come around. They'll provide something. But the transition here is what we were talking about with Big O in our crosstalk with the Big O show, was if you take the Heat bench and you take away Victor Oladipo. So now all of a sudden you have the likes of Dwayne Dedman and a Haywood Highsmith and Max Strus and Gabe Vincent and Duncan Robinson. It doesn't overwhelm you. And I think what the Lakers are showing also is the bench matters in the NBA, because LeBron James was certainly good last night. Anthony Davis was very good. And I know the bar has changed, Kurt Heelan, but Russell Westbrook wasn't terrible. Like, it's almost like a different Russell Westbrook bar you have these days. So when you look at the Miami Heat and you were saying, okay, hey, pretty interesting starting lineup. You have Adebayo, you have Caleb Martin, you have Jimmy Butler, you have Tyler Hero, you have Kyle Lowry, pretty good stuff there. And then you look at the bench, and I just mentioned, how concerning or how concerned are you of a Miami Heat team that does not have the skills, at least for tonight, maybe short term, perhaps longer, of Victor Oladipo? In other words, Kurt, when you were doing your East rankings for NBCSports.com and Pro Basketball Talk, if I would have told you, strip off Victor Oladipo from the roster, how much would that have impacted your thinking, or not, on the Miami Heat?
Not that dramatically in the regular season, just because they're the Heat, man. Like, you said talking to Orlando at the start of Inside the Paints, the redrecover.com show, like now we're going to lean into Gabe Vincent more. Well, Gabe played well last year. Like
very well.
There's a ceiling to it, right? Like right. There's a ceiling to how high he's going to go. And again, shout out UCSB where my daughter goes. But like Gabe Vincent's going to be solid. But I feel that way about Duncan Robinson and all these other guys you mentioned coming off the bench. Like the Miami they've built a culture. They've got a team with Eric Spoelstra where I trust they are going to get the most out of that bench. That they are not going to, if Oladipo's absence is extended, you start to think about other options. But right now, we'll see where he is. I don't doubt that they're going to be able to get enough production out of that bench for the regular season against teams like the Bulls. Like, it's going to show up against the Celtics because the Celtics are bringing Grant Williams and Malcolm Brogdon and quality guys off the bench, and it's going to be harder. But against the Bulls, you should be okay. Like, you should be able to rack up enough wins until you get him back to see what he's going to be. And if he's not going to be that guy, then do you start thinking about other options? Do you start thinking longer term if Oladipo's not able to be the guy you need him to be?
Yeah, I mean, then, and I agree. There's one thing I will say about this, and we're all somewhat guilty of this. We talk in the NBA in terms of first team and second team as if it's NFL offense and defense, and as if they don't mesh at all.
Yeah.
Every team staggers its rotation. Tonight, early, within, I'd say, the first 4 minutes, either Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, or Kyle Lowry will come off the floor, not because of foul trouble, because they can then rotate them in with the reserves. So when I say there's no shot creator in the second unit because Oladipo's not available, that doesn't mean that Tyler Hero won't be in with those players, or Jimmy Butler be in with those players, or Kyle Lowry be in with those players. So you will always have someone out there, just like the Lakers desperately know they could never play with LeBron or Anthony Davis if both are available off the court at the same time, because then they become the Rockets and the Thunder and the Kings and a team at the bottom, if that, of the playoff hunt in the Western Conference. But still, I'm sort of curious from the outside view, the long view, the national perspective like Kurt Heelan does at NBCSports.com. When you heard Victor Oladipo was going to be out for the opener and is missing time with left knee tendinosis, was it a thunderbolt or was it, Victor's always hurt?
He's missed so much time, and like he looked good in the playoffs last year. I mean, we've seen stuff from him, but it was not a thunderbolt because it wasn't wildly out of left field, right? Like he's missed a lot of time the last few years. I assumed he was going to miss some time this year. It's going to be at the start of the season, but I mean, did it catch the Heat off guard? Did they expect a healthier, like internally, was this, like you said, there doesn't seem to be a great plan B. Did this catch them off guard?
I think they knew from the get-go that Vic was not 100% right. I think they gave the contract in the offseason based on faith. If you remember, Victor Oladipo originally was going to get a 1-year, $11 million deal and then go off into the ether in free agency. Then the Heat needed to come up with some money under the luxury tax to do the rest of their contracts. So they switched it to a 2-year, 18. Average amount comes down per year. Victor gets the extra year. Once Victor agreed to that, to get the insurance season, I said to myself, something's a little off here. For the unbelievable guy who has unbelievable confidence, for him to protect himself. Remember, Victor, as you know, Kurt, Victor gave up, I think it was about a $100 million contract with Indiana. He gave up an extension with the Rockets in the $60, $70 million range. He's not going to come close to coming back to getting that money. And once Victor Oladipo started ensuring his future, that's when I said to myself, there might be something at play here. He knows. They see him in practice. They have his medicals. They see him in the training room. They know what's going on. You're always optimistic. You've seen players who've come back, pushed through the worst of times, and you've seen players who haven't. My example is Tim Hardaway. Tim Hardaway at the end, in the Zoe years, he pushed through until you realized there was no cartilage there. It was bone on bone in the knee, and he was done, and they moved him off to Dallas, and they ended that era a little bit prematurely. Vic sure seems to be trending that way. I'd say more than anything, was it shocking, Kurt? No. Was it disappointing? Very much so. So I want to take you tonight, opening night, Chicago Bulls, FTX Arena, 7:30 p.m. down here in South Florida. It'll be on Bally Sports Sun. The Chicago Bulls, to me, are one of those absolutely teetering teams. They were great at the start of last season. They were they led the Eastern Conference standings, I think, for 2 solid months. And everyone's like, oh, my God, DeMar DeRozan is back at 32. Billy Donovan got out of Oklahoma City. He finally has a winning team. And then they came down a little bit. Are the Chicago Bulls good, any good, a competitor, a contender this year, Kurt Heelan?
They're good, but they're one of – there's a whole flight of teams in the East that are good and probably headed to the play-in. The Washington Wizards with Beal and Kristaps Porzingis, and it might be the Hawks. Because I'm a little less sold on the Trae Young, DeJounte Murray melding, but like there's a lot of teams in the good range. I kind of think the Bulls are in there. This isn't a bad team by any stretch. Like they're going to be probably a little above 500 or in that ballpark, but are you going to get the same? I mean, DeMar DeRozan had the best season of his career. He has become a better playmaker, but Ira, do you really expect him to have that same kind of season? And no Lonzo Ball to start the season. That hurts their defense. That hurts their transition game. They have other players who kind of individually can fill in part of the gap, but they don't have one guy they can put out there who does everything for them. Lonzo does. So not having Lonzo Ball, I don't love their depth. I just don't think that they're going to be able, I don't think they're going to be as bad as they were at points last season, but I don't think they're leading the East again this year. I think it's a beatable team for what is, like we've talked about before, just a deeper East at the top, right? With if you're counting the Nets, 5 really good teams.
Yeah, I spoke to someone around the Heat, and they said they wouldn't be surprised if Chicago joins the Tankathon. That if they realize it's not going the right way, with DeMar DeRozan, a tradable contract at 33, that they could head the other way. To Lonzo take the season off, take additional time off, move off DeMar DeRozan, get in there, the ultimate lottery this year, whether it's for Wembanyama or Scoot Henderson or someone like that. So I think Chicago is the kind of team that's really pins and needles at the start of the season. Get off to a good start. We know Billy Donovan wants to play to win. He's been through all of that in Oklahoma City. But at some point, I think it could turn. But when I look at this Bulls lineup right now, and they're going to go with Patrick Williams as their starting power forward, they're going to try to make it work there. And again, you can look at it and say, is Zach LaVine a great player? And that's something I wanted to sort of throw at you also, because it's interesting. We talk about the Bulls. We talk about what DeMar DeRozan added coming over from San Antonio, free agency. People thought too large of a contract. We saw what happened when they added Nikola Vucevic and gave up those first-round picks to the Orlando Magic to get more of a quality center and input. But the one constant there was Zach LaVine, who has shown he can be great at moments. Is Zach LaVine a great NBA player? Is Zach LaVine an all-NBA talent level player? Is Zach LaVine a perennial NBA all-star? Because that's Chicago's best player. And is that, I'm going to phrase it another way, Kurt Heelan. If Zach LaVine is your best player, how good of a team are you?
Playoff team. Like he is a very good offensive player, right? Like he has developed, and to his credit, by the way, put in the work, because when he came in the league, he was all athleticism, right? He was jumping out of the building, he's winning dunk contests, but the craft to his game is something he worked on and got. So credit to the man. But I think, to use your analogies you were saying before, he's an all-star. He's going to be a pretty regular all-star. He can put up points, but I don't think he's an all-NBA player. He's not the two-way top 15 guy. He's certainly not the top 10 kind of guy you ultimately need if you don't have a Jimmy Butler. It's really hard to crack the contender status group, right? Like you need a guy who can be that guy in the playoffs like Jimmy can be. I just don't. Zach's not that guy, is he? He's just not.
And they traded Jimmy Butler.
He's a nice player.
And they traded Jimmy Butler for him in that trade with Minnesota. So you go back to the previous management, the previous coaching staff, and what they did. Look, folks, the chat board is blowing up. Matter of fact, I can't even scroll back up. I've got so many. We'll get to that at the start of our next segment. I also want to look a little further into a Heat season preview, take it out just beyond tonight's season opener. So we will get to where the Heat start tonight, but also where the Heat are headed. We'll get to all of your, or some of yours, I'm going to be honest, questions here on the chat board, and we'll do that after this short break on redrecover.com, Inside the Paint.
You're listening to the RedRecover.com Inside the Paint Show with Ira Winderman and Kurt Heelan. RedRecover.com's wraps and pads are designed to deliver maximum benefits with each treatment, anywhere you go. Use the code Big O to get a 10% discount.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
When you move, you need a reliable company led by passionate folks, eager to assist its customers during a transitional process that needs to be smooth. Call Essential Moving Experts at 844-368-5750 for all your local and long-distance moving needs. You can rely on Essential Moving Experts. Mention the Big O Show and get $150 off. Family owned and operated, they offer free 30-day storage, full-service moving, fully licensed, bonded, and insured. Moving was never so easy. EssentialMovingExperts.com.
Hey guys, this is Hayden Hurst, NFL tight end. I'm partnering today with Red Recover. We're going to run you guys through some drills. I started using Red Recover last year, my 4th year in the NFL. It just helps me on Mondays after games, get my recovery process started, get back into the fold of the week, and get ready for the following Sunday. If you want to recover like me, use Red Recover.
Welcome back to the RedRecover.com Inside the Paint program with Ira Winderman and Kurt Heelan. Go to RedRecover.com to learn more about red light with videos, blog posts, and 40 years of medical research to treat pain, inflammation, and overall well-being. Use code Big O to receive 10% off your order. Here's Ira Winderman and Kurt Heelan.
Ira Winderman, South Florida Sun Sentinel over here. Kurt Heelan, NBCSports.com, pro basketball talk. Man who knows everything about the NBA over there. And we're back on the Inside the Paint, RedRecover.com show. Again, tonight, Heat season opener, Chicago Bulls, FTX Arena, 7:30 p.m. But we all know that means 7:40 p.m. Bally Sports Sun down here on your league pass somewhere. Although I really wonder, the national folks, when you look at the whole slate of games today, if they say, Heat Bulls, that's where I'm going to be at 7:30. But another story for another moment. Kurt, I'm going to try to get to the chat board here real quick, so sort of rapid responses. First of all, thanks everyone for chiming in here. Feel free to add your comments, but you must also smash those like buttons or Big O gets very angry. So we'll go from there. Kevin G says, Oladipo shined and then is fizzled. Ultimately, you cannot sort of count on him playing at a high level consistency. Kurt, did the Heat overstate what they expected from Victor Oladipo, or do you sort of take a flyer on players and hope for the best, understanding it could also be the worst?
I think with a player the way he played in the postseason, I think you take a flyer on Oladipo, don't you? Like, he's been there before. You have maybe one of the best training and recovery staffs in the league, and you take the bet. You take the bet that you can get. Look, you don't expect 82 out of him, right? Like, get him there for 65 and healthy in the playoffs, and he's worth every penny.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Greater Good chimes in here, and he says he thinks with recovery that Victor Oladipo can get back to where he was. But, Kurt, isn't there a point with an injury where maybe if the goal was to get back to 100% of your greatness, you have to be honest, one, with yourself, and then the team has to be honest with itself as far as how much farther back or how much back to 100% the player actually can get.
Especially with something like tendinopathy that can linger, right? And just kind of hampers you and slows you. This isn't a broken bone that heals or you put in a pin and you're back to being who you were before. This is a more chronic thing that just kind of slows you. So, yeah, I don't know. Look, I just don't think he's ever going to be all-star Oladipo anymore, but that's not what he's also – that $9 million a year salary is not a guy getting paid to be an all-star, right? If he comes off the bench and is a quality rotation guy who gives them secondary playmaking, that's all you're asking for.
And maybe secondary defense also, because that I think was his best in last season's playoffs. So again, maybe he's a sort of, keep on the bubble wrap and break open when absolutely needed. We talked in our first segment. You can catch that on the Big O Show podcast about Kendrick Nunn. Kevin G says he thinks Kendrick Nunn can have a big impact for LA. Kurt, I guess the way I would cloak that is any reserve who contributes will have a big impact for the Lakers this season, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, you saw that bench last night. Austin Reeves got big minutes last year. Now, credit Austin Reeves for being that guy, but they were playing Matt Ryan out there, who walked on this team, was not drafted last year. They didn't even give him an Exhibit 10. They had to keep him because Matt Ryan can shoot. And if you can shoot, the Lakers are desperate for you. So, yes, Kendrick Nunn can have a real impact on this team and is going to be important to the Lakers only because they don't have better options.
Right. Yeah. So, they got to go with that. Carlos and a bunch of our doctors on here, I don't know if they're doctors or they stayed at Holiday Inn Expresses, but they were all saying that they see this being a long-term and ongoing thing with Victor Oladipo. Kurt, I want to turn it a little different direction. The Miami Heat are $200,000 shy of the luxury tax. Any player they add puts them into the luxury tax. Is there anyone out there? In other words, Isaiah Thomas is out there, for example, and there's some other guards who went unsigned in free agency. Do you see the need for the Heat possibly to have to go into the luxury tax? Or do you say to yourself, you know what? You have Gabe Vincent. You have Jamal Cain, who had a nice offseason. Yes. You have enough young players you can get by. You have Drew Smith on a two-way. Or do you just let this play out organically and push come to shove, you worry about it a little more, sort of push the rock down the road a little bit?
I think you can push because they're the Heat, because Gabe Vincent and all these, Duncan Robinson and everybody off the bench, that they're just going to get solid minutes out of them. You can wait. You can save this move. If you're going to go into the tax, it's got to be for a good reason, right? That's that payout. If you're not in the tax this year is estimated to be, I read, and I think you know this, about $16.5 million.
Well, they're saying 16.5, but what they're saying is there's enough teams that can also get under that it might come down to about 10. For people who don't know, the luxury tax is computed at season's end. So teams that are $1 million over, something like that, basically they could sell off their player and a pick to a team that has the space under the tax in order for them to get the overage. So I'm told it's about $10 million, which certainly is a nice chunk of change that you don't want to leave on the table. Yeah. Again, the thing is, teams have basketball people and business people. Basketball people will always buy another player and take another player.
Yes.
But the business people are saying, $10 million is $10 million. So you sort of have Nick Arison there on the business side saying, hey, let's do the math on this also. We're not the biggest market team. We don't have the largest local television deal. We don't have the largest arena. We have to consider that also. So, yeah, I think they do weigh the luxury tax there. I think he go into the tax for the right player, which is probably a trade player. Matter of fact, one thing about the Lakers and sort of going into the tax and talking about all of this is, Kurt, I was watching the Lakers game last night thinking of one name in particular on the Heat. And I'll throw it out to you there because the people, if you don't know, Kurt is based out in the LA area, gets over to Crypto.com Arena, Staples Center.
I'll be there Thursday night. Yeah, for Lakers. I'll be there Thursday night when the Lakers get fed to the Clippers.
Exactly. So you'll see both LA teams there when the Lakers don't get championship rings anymore. But there's one name I was thinking of when I was watching that Lakers game last night who I think could really, really, really help them. Kurt, put Duncan Robinson on the Lakers roster. How much would that upgrade the Lakers and what they're trying to do?
He has the potential to be what he was kind of his breakout year with the Heat, right? They're so desperate for shooting and guys who can move off the ball and get to the open spaces, because LeBron James, as we all know, is still as gifted a passer as this league has seen.
Correct.
Anthony Davis is a really nice passer. And some of the other shot creators, we were talking about Kendrick Nunn. Kendrick Nunn can find guys. They can move. Even Russell Westbrook will find guys. If somebody's just moving to open spaces and knocking down shots, it would be huge for them. if you want to put together that trade, you go ahead. Like, but because the Lakers, the problem is they have the handful of super big salaries, and they don't have anything. Then it's way down to like minimums. They just don't have those tradable $16 million contracts. Rob Pelinka has.
They don't have anyone you would want.
Interestingly,
they don't have anyone you would want except for their draft choices. The Heat are not a collect draft choices team, so that would almost have to be a three-way trade. But the same thing even with the Lakers and a Buddy Hield. You could just see why they were looking at players like that. So I can understand that. Getting back to our Victor Oladipo conversation, too, Extreme chimes in here in our YouTube chat board that even without Victor Oladipo, if Kyle Lowry gets back to being Kyle Lowry, that alone could be a jump that compensates. Kurt, and matter of fact, it's interesting because you talked about right now, we were talking about LeBron James at his age. Is there a certain point where you just say to me, Ira, Kyle Lowry's old. He's 36. You can't expect the same player. Or because you get to watch LeBron on a nightly basis, do you say there are some players who have always played somewhat of an old man's game anyway, who can make it work at an older age? Do you still think Kyle Lowry can be a needle mover and can somewhat compensate if the Heat have to go extended periods without Victor Oladipo?
First off, I think you, I, and everybody need to stop using LeBron as a comp because he's a freak of nature. Like
I agree.
He's not built like other human beings. But I think Chris Paul is another example of a guy, though, with kind of an old man game, with an intellectual game, who had some down years, changed his diet, changed his workout routine, got in the shape he needed to be in, and came back and played at a high level. And I think, look, I don't know that Lowry's not Chris Paul. He's never going to be Chris Paul.
Right.
But he can be closer to that guy. He can be closer to the guy who bounces back. Look, he wasn't in shape, and he had a lot of personal stuff going on last year. I think you're going to see a better version of him. Is he back to being peak Toronto Kyle Lowry? I don't know that guy's ever coming back, but a guy who can really contribute for the Heat on both ends. Yeah, I think I agree. I think he can fill in some of that space just because he's going to be better.
Well, Kevin G chimes in here on the chat board. Who would you rather have right now? I think it's a simple question, but maybe it's more complex because of the beautiful mind of Kurt Heelan. Who would you rather have right now, Kyle Lowry or Russell Westbrook?
Oh, Lowry. Lowry's a better teammate. Lowry will put in the work. I don't know how many people have seen this yet. Russell Westbrook's comment, he missed part of he only played 5 minutes in the one game he came off the bench, and he said he tweaked his hamstring because he came off the bench.
Yeah,
it's already starting there, man.
Everyone, I'm sure you're going to be doing something at NBCSports.com about that, and everyone was talking about that comment last night. The only sort of interesting thing coming out of the Lakers was Russell Westbrook saying, well, when you play me as a reserve, my body's not ready. That really bodes well for any team who might think, look, I'm sure there were a bunch of teams out there thinking, matter of fact, I'll put this to you, Kurt. If Russell Westbrook, and I don't think this is happening, and certainly not yet, if Russell Westbrook gets a buyout because he becomes untenable and he becomes untradeable, do you think there are NBA teams at the minimum or a minimal deal? Do you think NBA teams still believe they can salvage Russell Westbrook?
Salvage is the wrong word. I think that what he becomes? He comes the Colin Sexton for another team, right? Hey, here's a guy we can put out there. We'll fill up the stat sheet, not win us games because we're tanking, but we'll look like we're trying. Like, if he wants to start and have the ball in his hands, he's that guy now. If he's not willing to accept the role coming off the bench and fitting in, then he's a guy that can help you lose respectably.
Which I don't know if it's the goal for many teams. So I want to throw one other this way because I like getting around the NBA since we have Kurt here who offers a national perspective. Kurt, is John Wall going to be more than Russell Westbrook, or is he just Russell Westbrook 2.0, guys who were traded for each other, guys who sat on contracts who aren't the players they once were, guys who arrived to LA teams with the hope of resurrection? You look at the Clippers, pretty loaded roster. They don't have to have the best of John Wall. They announced they're not starting John Wall. I'm really curious about it to see if John Wall can do what Russell Westbrook couldn't do. What's the thought? What's your thoughts on John Wall now that the Clippers are about to open their season?
I think the big difference here is just what we were talking about, which is I think Russell's still a little more explosive as a player. He's always John Wall was a great athlete, but peak Russell Westbrook was what? One of the top 10 athletes this game has ever seen. Like
triple-double machine, right? And defended and cared.
Yeah. What Wall has, though, is an acceptance of his role. Like, they've signed him with the Clippers because, hey, you might be coming off the bench. You might start. You might come off the bench. You're going to get these minutes, but we need you to fill a role. You're not the star anymore. And he has not only accepted that, he said he's excited. He's excited not to be Batman every night. He wants to be Robin. That's the difference. Like, he's bought into what the Clippers are selling in a way. I don't think Russ is, with all due respect to Darvin Ham. Russ has said all the right things, but actions.
No, and I agree with that. As a matter of fact, the reason I brought that up, and Heat fans, I'm trying to stay in the Heat theme, is this reason. When I look at players like Westbrook, and I look at players like Wall, and I look at players like Oladipo, I think there's a certain point when you have to accept they're not who they were, and a certain point when they have to accept they're not who they were. And can they morph into it? And I think for players who used to be explosive guards, it's hard. And the cross there I would make is someone like a Kevin Love, who came around to embrace his sixth-man role as an inside player, does not have to be explosive, never was overly athletic, always rebounded with savvy. But I think it's easier for a big man to sort of morph into that second stage of his career than someone who used to be explosive. I mean, we're seeing it now. Russell Westbrook doesn't get guys on his hip. I'm curious if John Wall, who's the ultimate speedster, could. Victor Oladipo never did that on his 4 of 18 shooting preseason and had to take a different shot menu because of that. So that's why I think it's interesting. Older guards don't age well. They age like Kurt and I do, which is why we're sitting here looking like this instead of looking like those young whippersnapper NBA writers out there now. So I think that's an interesting sort of part of it. And I want to segue, and I know we're up against a break, and we will preview the Heat and look through the roster. And in our final segment today on Inside the Paint, RedRecover.com show, we will do our weekly look ahead at the Heat schedule to prepare you for the week ahead. So the one Heat player I want to look at now before our break, again, an older player, 33 years old, and where does he stand? Kurt Helin, because we did this in our first segment, we talked about Zach LaVine, who will play the Heat tonight at FTX Arena. Kurt, if Jimmy Butler is the best player on your team, how far can you go in today's NBA? Not a puncher's chance, not a luck out, maybe someone will say in the bubble, not finding an East that teams have missteps along the way, players are injured like Joel Embiid last season, but starting fresh this year. Jimmy Butler is my team's best player. Therefore, my team can go how far?
Championship finals, because Jimmy's capable of raising his game in the postseason. You might have to do some load management, right? Like, you've got to get him to the playoffs healthy. But I think we even saw last year, and frankly, the last couple of years, a healthy Jimmy can carry this team a long way. And you've got to put. Nobody's winning. Look, LeBron can only carry a team. Peak LeBron could only carry a team so far. You're going to have to get more out of Bam and Lowry and on down the line, Tyler, like we've talked about. But he is a guy who can create, and not only create. You've got to hit tough shots in the playoffs, right? You've got to be able to hit the tough shot with the guy in your face, and that's Jimmy Butler can do at an elite level.
And I agree. Actually, there's one thing I want to throw to you right before the break and sort of put you on the spot, because that's what I'm here to do every Wednesday on RedRecover.com Inside the Paint. I'm looking at the Chicago Bulls tonight, and I'm seeing that they're starting Patrick Williams at power forward. They were thinking about Javonte Green. They don't have a lot of really good options there at the moment. In my view, the Heat's best starting lineup for tonight would be Jimmy Butler at the 4, Bam Adebayo at the 5, Butler at the 4, Max Strus at the 3, Tyler Hero and Kyle Lowry. You get your most talent out there at the start. You get your best players out there. So I'm subbing in Jimmy Butler for Caleb Martin. But Kurt Helin, and you know this because you deal with a lot of NBA players and their egos. Jimmy Butler does not want to start at power forward. Most coaches do not want to match up. They want to have their lineup and develop their lineup. Do you think there's any way that Eric Spoelstra tonight can shock us and start Jimmy Butler at the 4, or does he know you don't mess with what Jimmy Butler don't want?
Yeah, I kind of think you can play key minutes with Jimmy Butler at the 4, and I think you would know better than I, Ira, but I think he's good with playing is this Anthony Davis at the 5, which they did start him that way last night, but like, is it one of those guys where, hey, you're not going to be there, but you're going to finish there. You're going to play 15 minutes a game at that spot when we really need you. You're Draymond at the 5, right? You're not starting there, but crunch minutes, we're going to go to that. I think that's where you are with that lineup. I think you've got to start. You've got to keep Jimmy happy. You're going to have to start him at the 3 to start the season. I don't think. I think Spo knows what he's got to do.
Oh, and I agree. I'm afraid of Jimmy Butler. I don't know if Spo's afraid of Jimmy Butler, but I think you try to keep the group happy. So I agree with that. Yeah. When we come up in our final segment on Inside the Paint, brought to you by RedRecover.com, we'll do what we do every week on Wednesdays. We'll look ahead to the Heat's upcoming schedule, tonight against the Bulls, Friday against the Celtics, and then a Saturday, Monday baseball-type series, the only visit of the season by the Toronto Raptors. So it will be Precious Achiuwa reunion night. So we'll get some of that also after Goran Dragic reunion night tonight. So Kurt and I will break down the future of the Heat schedule over the next week. Kurt will give you all kinds of betting tips. Now I'll put him on the spot during the break.
Oh, great. Thank you.
And we will be back on RedRecover.com Inside the Paint after this brief commercial messages.
You're listening to the RedRecover.com Inside the Paint show with Ira Winderman and Kurt Heelan. RedRecover.com's wraps and pads are designed to deliver maximum benefits with each treatment, anywhere you go. Use the code Big O to get a 10% discount.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
Red Recover now offers a simple-to-use, professional-grade light therapy device designed to help your dog heal and live a healthier life. Red Recover emits red and infrared light therapy based on the same science that NASA developed, all in a soft, flexible housing pad powered by a convenient, rechargeable lithium-ion battery. Say yes to science and give your dog the care it deserves with Red Recover.
Welcome back to the RedRecover.com Inside the Paint program with Ira Winderman and Kurt Heelan. Go to RedRecover.com to learn more about red light with videos, blog posts, and 40 years of medical research to treat pain, inflammation, and overall well-being. Use code Big O to receive 10% off your order. Here's Ira Winderman and Kurt Heelan.
And we're back on RedRecover.com Inside the Paint. I'm Ira Winderman from the South Florida Sun Sentinel. He's Kurt Heelan from NBCSports.com, Pro Basketball Talk. And we're back with our final segment. Big O will be back at the top of the hour to talk Tua. But that's at the top of the hour. For now, we'll finish up on hoops. I'm trying to get to the chat board. We got a lot to get here also. So I'm going to try to get through as much as I can here in the final segment. If you missed either of our first two segments, go to wherever you get your podcasts. Or else just call Big O and he'll personally deliver it to your computer. Kurt, the Heat have 3 games coming up between now and when I talk to you next week when I'll be in Portland. A little bit later show next week because of the time difference for me. We don't care about you when you're stuck out there in LA. But when I'm going to Portland, we're going to start a little later. I think 5 o'clock next Wednesday. The Heat tonight, Chicago Bulls. We spoke about this a little bit in our first segment. Is there a particular matchup when you look at the Chicago Bulls? You have Vucevic at center. You have obviously the 2 good perimeter players in DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. You don't have right now Lonzo Ball. They're a little shorthanded, not a great bench. If you're playing the Chicago Bulls and you're Eric Spoelstra, you've had, I guess you can make an argument, you've had 4 months to prepare for this game.
Yeah.
What are you targeting? Where's your point of concern when you play the Chicago Bulls?
as much as Zach LaVine racks up points, I still think it's DeMar DeRozan who is their clutch player, who gets other guys involved and draws the defense. And he's the guy you're going to have to stop at the point of attack, whether that's with Jimmy Butler or combinations or however you're going to handle it. To me, that's the guy at the top of the board who you can't let. If he gets going, everything opens up for them. And look, they've got scores. Vucevic, their offense is pretty good. Vucevic can score, on and on down the line with them. So they're going to get their points, but I think you have to slow DeRozan and then really take advantage on offense because I don't think their defense is going to be good at all.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the Heat do have the wherewithal. If they start the starting lineup we talked about in our last segment with Caleb Martin staying in there, you have Caleb Martin as a defender, you have Jimmy Butler as a defender. So you can, if you want, match up on Zach LaVine and match up on DeRozan and telling anyone else, hey, anyone else on the wing, go with Tyler Hero. We'll live with those results. Patrick Williams, your backup point guard, we can deal with that. So it will be interesting to see how the Heat handle the matchups because I think part of the Heat starting lineup now, and we're projecting. It's like I sound like almost like Steve Kornicki here at the NBC board over there. We are projecting right now the Heat starting lineup to be Bam Adebayo, Caleb Martin, Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, and Kyle Lowry. How often do you think the Heat will try to hide Tyler Hero at the start of games and matchups? Or how often do you think the Heat are resigned to other teams will hunt the matchup anyway? We're going to have to live with Tyler Hero's defense against starting level talent really for the first time.
I think that you're going to have to live with it a little bit, but there's only certain teams I think can really exploit it. Like you said, the Bulls tonight, you can put him on Patrick Williams, who's not he's just raw. It's just, I want him to be better than he is, right? Or you can put him on the point guard and you'll be fine. The second game, when you play the Celtics, that's a lot harder. There's not places to hide against Boston, and they are better about hunting matchups and they play at a higher level. And then I'm higher on Toronto than you are, but that's a tough team to play against because Fred VanVleet and then everything's switchable. Everybody can score. Yes. Barnes and Siakam and Precious Achiuwa, by the way, is a beautiful fit with that, isn't he? Like, hey, I'm 6'9", I can switch everything. I'm athletic. Right. They're just loaded with those guys, which is going to make it a little harder to hide. If you're trying to find a soft spot to land Tyler Hero, it's just harder against those teams.
Yeah, and I will be curious early in the year how the Heat handle it. We know they like to switch everything. We know they don't really go zone with that first unit. Right. I think as you bring the Duncan Robinsons and Max Struses in, you might try to hide players, especially if you play a Jovic with the second unit. But again, Eric Spoelstra will never allow zone to be their base defense, because then they lose their identity and you lose the entire value of having a switch everything Bam Adebayo out there at center. So I will be curious, although, and I know you don't get to see it as much as I do, Kurt, but I can't stand how the Heat almost capitulate on the pick and roll and they switch off. So Bam does go on the perimeter because Vucevic is very crafty. And if Vucevic gets a smaller body, even a Caleb Martin on him, he has plenty of dipsy doodle there in the paint that he can punish you. So I do wonder if there will be as much Bam switchability this season or not, based on how the other matchups go, because you're not playing big at the 4, because you are going smaller. Let's face it, even though he's 6'5", I felt comfortable if PJ Tucker switched onto a Vucevic. He would use his base. He would use his man strength to keep him out of the paint. It'll be a little more interesting with Caleb Martin there this season. So we have the Chicago Bulls season opener, FTX Arena tonight, 7:30 p.m. Then Friday, the Heat get on national television against the Boston Celtics, who looked very, very, very good last night, and that's without Robert Williams. We talked about this last week. I don't want to get into a league preview. We sort of did that a bit last week. Your favorite in the East, Boston or Milwaukee?
I've still picked Milwaukee just because they've got less question. I trust them more. We'll see what happens with the coaching. We'll see what happens with Robert Williams coming back. The Bucks, I mean, just know who they are. But hey, by the way, Giannis Antetokounmpo is pretty good.
Yes.
But mostly they're not searching for their identity. Whatever you think of Budenholzer's coaching and everything else, like they just know who they are and what they want to do.
Yeah, to me, it's interesting at the top of the East for this reason. If you were to go to me, Kurt, Ira, who's the best big two in the East? I'd probably say Tatum and Brown right now. But if you were to ask me who's the best big three in the East, then I'd probably turn the other way and go Giannis, Holiday, and Middleton, because I for all due respect to Marcus Smart and what he is, I don't know if he's a complete two-way player, even to the degree of a Drew Holiday. So it's sort of interesting. The best 1-2 punch I see Boston. The best 1-2-3 punch I see in Milwaukee, and you can even say maybe the best starting lineup. You go a little further and maybe look to Philadelphia. So it's a matter of how much you're going to push your stars early, how much aren't you? So the Heat do get a break to a degree. Robert Williams out. As a matter of fact, I'm sure you've touched on this several times. Well, I know you have it. Pro Basketball Talk. What's your thought on how long are the Celtics going to be without Robert Williams with that ongoing injury from last season?
And if you saw the news yesterday, he got the PPP injection in his knee, and they're now saying he'll be back second half of the season. So Christmas
that's a long
or after.
time.
Yeah, second half. That's a long time to go without the guy who really had their defense going. It looked good last night, but that's a long time to be without him, because they got rid of Daniel Tice. They don't really have a true. Horford's kind of their five now. We'll see what happens. If they bring in a Dwight Howard like body, but look, they'll still win a lot of games. They'll be fine, but they're not going to be the Celtics till they get Robert Williams back.
And for those who don't know the Heat schedule, the Heat open against the Heat, play Boston on Friday, and then the week after Thanksgiving, they have a road trip where they go to Atlanta the Sunday of Thanksgiving weekend. And then that week on Wednesday, Friday, they play at Boston. So with the Robert Williams timetable, is like Kurt said, the Heat will miss Robert Williams in 3 of their 4 games against the Celtics this season, which could be meaningful in head-to-head, because last year, again, the Miami Heat finished 2 games free and clear top of the East. Boston, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia all finished tied. Tiebreakers should matter again this season, so you want to get those games. And that's why when people talk about maybe Eric Spoelstra experiments a little, we see some Jovic early in the season. He goes in different directions. My thought is, you are playing 4 Eastern Conference teams at home to start your schedule. I don't want to say the Heat have to go 4-0. The sky won't be falling if they won't. But these are important games even for early in the season. Yeah. So you have Chicago tonight. You have Boston we're talking about right now on Friday. The whole chip on the shoulder thing, and you know this because you live this out there, especially with LeBron, how when anyone else was named MVP over his career, LeBron would subtly but always pointed out to us, that it was someone else that wasn't him and how it wasn't right. So last year, I'm not sure any player campaigned more for an award than Bam Adebayo did for Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, he literally could have put in the back of his jersey DPOY. He wanted it so much. He went to Marcus Smart instead. Do you think in a matchup, even though they don't go head-to-head, and even though they met in the playoffs last season, that still carries some weight for a Bam Adebayo in game 2 of an NBA season?
Oh, I think so. I think, look, the best players always are looking for motivation especially in the grind of the regular season, right? They're looking for something to get them fired up for a game and I think this is it. But this is a chance to show on a national stage, hey, I'm your Defensive Player of the Year. I should be on this list. And by the way, he's my pick. I picked him to win it this year. But this is the kind of, it's too early to make a true statement game, I guess, but you can certainly put yourself on the radar with a big game. And Robert Williams not being there helps, right? Like that's a great matchup. It makes it a much better matchup.
Yeah,
I agree exactly. Yeah, not having Robert Williams there makes this a better matchup for him, because that would have been one of the headlines of that game is Robert Williams versus Bam Adebayo and 2 of the front runners for Defensive Player of the Year. And now Bam gets the stage, man. And this is a chance for him to show off why he belongs there.
And that big matchup, if you had Horford and Robert Williams, then all of a sudden it becomes a test of do you really want to start Caleb Martin or do you want to go bigger? So you do have to wait on that. And that's why an NBA season evolves. What you see in the first week is not what you're going to see in midseason, is not what you're going to see in the playoffs. So you take the matchups as you can. I think these are meaningful regular season games because of that. The other thing I wanted to get to with Boston is we all know the Heat didn't make a major move in the offseason. We all know that the Heat lost PJ Tucker, so they were maybe a net negative in the offseason. I got to say last night, Kurt, watching the Celtics, Malcolm Brogdon fits. That was a heck of a pickup for them, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's the kind of, I mean, when they got deep into the playoffs last year and deep into their second, we get into the conference finals and finals, you've got to have the defenses get better, right? Like I can make life difficult enough for Tatum's going to get his, but you can make life hard for him and you can make it a little difficult for Brown. Where's my extra shot creation? Who's going to do it? Marcus Smart's not. I love Marcus Smart, but he's not that guy.
Right.
Like he's not shot creation guy. The Heat need Kyle Lowry to do some of that stuff. In big moments, Brogdon can do that, right? Brogdon was just a great fit. 15 points, got some assists, fit solidly, just make smart plays. He's going to have a big role for them. And by the way, talk about a guy who could be in your 6th man of the year running. I mean, or running up to Jordan Poole, who I assume is just going to run away with this thing. So.
If Tyler stays in the starting lineup, that reduces last year's winner. And I think that'll be the case also. To me, Malcolm Brogdon is the classic case of a good player needs to be on a good team to maximize what he does well. When he was with Milwaukee, it was the right fit for the right player. When he was with Indiana, it was a team going nowhere. He couldn't maximize his subtle greatness toward winning, and I think you're going to see this again in the Celtics right now. Then the Heat on Saturday night, it'll be the second night of a back-to-back, play the Toronto Raptors. They also host them on Monday at FTX Arena. This is an interesting team because you and I, Kurt Heelan, have spoken about the top 4 or 5 in the East, and we mentioned Milwaukee, we mentioned Boston, we mentioned Philadelphia, we mentioned Miami, and we always want to put Brooklyn in there because they have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. But some people look at Toronto and say, okay, but besides Durant and Irving, you have the question mark of Ben Simmons. You have the limitations of Nick Claxton. You have maybe the niceness of a Royce O'Neal, but not an overwhelming player in your lineup, should they go in that direction. Toronto has a bunch of nice players, and they only play 7 players because Nick Nurse don't want to hear about your load management or your time off or anything. The Toronto Raptors, first, give me your holistic thoughts of the Raptors before we get into the Raptors-Heat matchup. What do you see from and the possibilities of the Toronto Raptors?
I mean, you and I talked about this last week. Like, if we gave the Nets the 5th spot in the East with the Big 4, who was that 6th team that avoided the play-in? And I went with Toronto just because I think their depth, but also just their versatility. They're just hard to play against because they don't play like anybody else, right? Like it's because they're long and switchable and don't necessarily play traditional position. They're the most positionless team in the NBA. I think in the regular season, that's hard to match up with. I think you can get them in the playoffs. I'm not sold on them as a contender, but in the regular season where you're trying to be you, here comes this very different animal with just a lot of long athletic players that defend well and cause problems. So they're just kind of a tough matchup. I think in some ways seeing them back-to-back 2 nights makes it a little easier. You get more, you've seen the picture, right?
1,000%. And I was going to chime in and interrupt you there like I always do. And I was going to say, during the regular season, you rarely fully game plan for a team because you're on to the next one. And yes, the first Toronto game is a back-to-back after Boston. There'll be no shoot-around on Saturday for extra preparation. But then you have a full day to go to school on what went wrong in one game and translates to what happened in the next game. And I think Toronto's a really good team because of their uniqueness to have that type of scheduling. You have a day off before them, and you have a day off after them. So you can go to school on Monday. It almost seems like, even though they're home games, you want to get a split in one of those baseball-type series and just move on, and that's sort of accepted. Do you think, because it's interesting, even early in the season, I was wondering if Eric Spoelstra might sit players on back-to-backs because they were an older team. Kurt, do you think it's safe to say there is no chance in hell that Kyle Lowry at 36 is going to miss a game against the Toronto Raptors?
That's actually a really good point. I was like, I think he would rest people, but I hadn't really thought about the emotional component. You might try to limit some minutes there on the second night of a back-to-back, or depending on how things are going in the first night. I think that's a good point. I think against Lowry isn't going to want to sit out that game. Maybe they'll do it anyway because
you got to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't think he'll be happy about that. That's a really good point. I had not thought of that.
Yeah, so I think the Toronto's interesting because obviously the trade, getting Kyle Lowry from them, Precious Achiuwa coming back in. The Raptors have turned him into the three-point shooter that the Heat couldn't, so you'll see a different-looking player. And yet, Kurt, I think the Heat, if they had to do it again, would make the Dragic and Achiuwa trade for Kyle Lowry because they are a win-in-the-moment team. Do you see in any way that trade coming back to bite the Miami Heat?
Not really. I think you're right. I think they'd make that trade again. Dragic is kind of past his prime. Achiuwa's Achua is a good rotation player who I said earlier, I just think he fits better in Toronto than he's going to fit most places because he's not a traditional 5. He can play some 4, but I think in that more positionless life they live in Toronto, I don't think he played really well at the end of last season, and I don't think that's a fluke. I think this is so much for the NBA role players. This is true of everybody. So much about fit. If you're Jimmy Butler, you're good everywhere. If you're Bam Adebayo, you're good everywhere. But if you're Tyler Hero or Duncan Robinson or Gabe Vincent or Caleb Martin, it matters. Fit matters so much, and it matters to Precious. I agree. I think this is a good spot.
Lightning round right here on the last minute going out the door. The game everyone hates to play. We're going to go real quick. Miami Heat, Chicago Bulls tonight, FTX Arena. Who wins, Kurt Heelan?
Heat.
I agree. I think the Bulls are meh. Miami Heat, Boston Celtics, national television, Friday night, FTX Arena. Who wins, Kurt Heelan?
Celtics. They looked really good.
Celtics will have 2 days off before they play that game. They don't play since last night's game to FTX Arena. I think the Heat have a chip on their shoulder. I think Jimmy Butler comes down and drains a 3 late in the game as the difference in that Eastern Conference Finals Game 7. Saturday night, FTX Arena, Miami Heat, Toronto Raptors. Kurt Heelan, who wins?
That's the back-to-back, right? So
yes.
I'm still going to go Heat. I still think they're a better
I think back-to-back older Heat team, younger Raptors legs, even though Fred VanVleet's not so young. I go Raptors. Monday night, Miami Heat rematch Toronto Raptors, FTX Arena, 7:30 p.m. Who do you have, Kurt Heelan?
Even if they lose the first one, they get this one because this is a tough team to play against. But like I said, if you've seen them twice, the mystery goes away. It's the third time through the lineup you've seen the pitcher.
I think the Miami Heat celebrate Tua's comeback on Sunday night against the Steelers. They're in a good mood. They beat the Raptors. They head out west, and that's where I'll be talking to Kurt Heelan next week. We're going to start at 5 p.m. because we're on the West Coast. I'll be in Portland to preview that 3-game West Coast trip. Trailblazers, Warriors, and then the Sacramento Kings. We'll be back next week on Wednesday on the RedRecover.com Inside the Paint Show.
You're listening to the RedRecover.com Inside the Paint Show with Ira Winderman and Kurt Heelan. RedRecover.com's wraps and pads are designed to deliver maximum benefits with each treatment, anywhere you go. Use the code Big O to get a 10% discount. Welton Rayom has more than 62 years of litigation experience handling insurance disputes. They're committed to resolving even the toughest insurance claims quickly. Call them for a free consultation. 954-966-4646. At Welton Rayom, they don't get paid unless you win. Property damage claims to your home, business, or condo as a result of a hurricane. Welton Rayom can help. Water, mold, fire, smoke damage, Welton Rayom can help. Call 954-966-4646.
Oh, great. You have a doorbell camera. Now you have a front row seat to your house getting robbed.
They're breaking into my house!
Ooh, there goes the TV. I'm sure it'll turn up at the pawn shop.
No, not the TV!
Just because you can see them, that doesn't mean you can stop them. With Slogans, you get 24-hour monitoring, a free home security system, and professional installation. Plus, free doorbell camera, one that'll actually work for you.
Get out of my house! Get out of the house!
Call 1-800-ALARM-ME.
The viewpoint, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc., ownership, management, sponsors, or website. When it comes to South Florida sports teams, very few in the media have witnessed, lived, and covered it like the Big O. Let's start the program dedicated to your favorite South Florida teams with a passion that's unmatched. The Big O Radio Show is on. Here's the Big O.
We are back. Yeah. All right. Thank you to Ira and Kurt. As always, excellent work there on the Red Recover Inside the Paint Show. Hardcore hour of basketball. Nice to have basketball back. Nice to get the Heat back. It's going to be a lot of fun. Going to have a good season. We're not going to be out there tonight. I don't want to go to the opener because it's in every media member goes, and it's just a craziness and all that. We'll go to games 2 and 3 and stuff. We'll show up at the other games and get in there and have a little fun. But looking forward to watching the game tonight. That's for sure. looking forward to that one. And yes, the boys, next week, we adjusted the schedule. So we're going to be doing Wednesday afternoon next week for some for reasons that I've got to adjust the schedule for. So anyway, so we'll have some fun with that. And remember, tomorrow we're at Hialeah Park. All right, on Thursdays, like always, second floor poker room. Well, we might be on the first floor too sometimes. Tomorrow we will be at the second floor poker room. They haven't told me that they're putting us in the first floor in the Flamingo Lounge, but we'll be in the second floor poker room. So if you want to come on by and say hi, we'll be out there 3 to 6 p.m. having some fun in the afternoon. So come on by and say hi. And then on Friday, you can't come by and say hi because we're going to be at the Homestead Motor Speedway and we'll be broadcasting live out there. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then Saturday, we're at Walk-Ons in Kendall for our pre and post game show for the Miami Hurricanes and Duke. And remember, we've got all kinds of free prizes given away. We're giving away stuff from Caneswear. We're going to give away stuff from Perdomo Cigars. We're going to have free taste testing, Edge Energy Drink. I tell you about Edge all the time. MyEdgeDrink.com. Finest energy drink on the planet. Get 10% off. Use our code BIG-O. So get your Edge Energy Drink, but you can try it finally if you want to try it over there at Walk-Ons in Kendall. So come on out. We're going to have the lovely ladies serving. And also they're going to be giving out some beer specials too. Some maybe even taste testing. I don't know. So lots of things going on at Walk-Ons on Saturday for the Canes-Duke game. They open at 11 a.m. Our broadcast will start off at 10:30. Mike McCoy and myself. And by the way, if you did not catch last night, you can go to our platform and check out the State of Florida Gridiron Roundtable, where I sit down with 3 insiders from the Gators, Canes, and the Seminoles, and get to talk to Ira Schofel, Kevin Brockway, and Manny Navarro. And so if you happen to be a Gators, a Seminoles, or a Canes fan, it's a hardcore hour. It's right there on the platform if you want to go back and listen to it. Every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, it's Mike McCoy and the Miami Hurricanes watch. And that show will be expanding too, hopefully. So you got all of that. So if you're a Canes fan, you got 2 hours there. All right. And you know what? I was thinking, Sean, probably next year with UCF's joining the Big 12, maybe we will add, next year UCF and get an insider for UCF. That would make a lot of sense once they join a big boy conference. Maybe we got to get UCF in the mix there too in our State of Florida Gridiron Roundtable. So we'll have a little fun with all of that. Let's see. Campo says, Big O, how's the spot you go to Saturdays? What food is good? Never heard of it till you advertise. Actually, Drew Brees is one of the owners of Walk-Ons. I don't know if you know that. So the ruby red fish is amazing. The burgers are awesome. I had a turkey burger this weekend. It was great. The mozzarella logs are awesome. My wife loves the wings. She loves the wings and the burgers. She gets that all the time. They're just all the food is so good there. I'm telling you, the food is phenomenal at Walk-On. So you will definitely love it, Andy. Plus, you might win some free prizes along the way. So come on out, man. Let's go. You want the platform to grow? Come support the platform at our live appearances, man. That's also very, very important. Come on out there to and what a beautiful bar. Ginormous bar. Roof is like 30 feet in the air. They got TVs everywhere. Freaking awesome. So you'll love the place. Really, really nice place. So we'll have some fun there. So come on by. This show, by the way, we're only going to go till 11 today. I am taking off. Tua talks at 11:50. So I'll be there for the Tua press conference like I told you I would be. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do something in the afternoon. Matt Verderam is set to join us at 4 o'clock. I'll be on, or I would imagine around 3:30, something like that. I'll be on. So it'll be like a 2-part show today. doing this and then coming back in the afternoon because we're, after Tua has his press conference and obviously we have our conversation with him. I want to come back and talk about that. And I think it's important for Dolphin fans. So we are doing a little extra for you all out there. Okay. So, and you can watch the Tua press conference and you'll see I will get that question in there. And I mean, listen, if you listen to the conversation with Poopart, he nailed it. I know he's going to tell us what we want to hear. Oh, I know I got to do that. I got to get rid of the ball and I've got to do a better job. And so I know I'm kind of wasting my time going up there to ask this question because he's just going to tell me what we want to hear. And in the end, it's really up to the young man to throw away the ball, please. Come on, Tua, bro, throw away the ball. Play's dead, throw away the ball, bro. Just live for the next play. Live for the next play. Live for the next series. Live for the next quarter. Live for the next game. That's all, man. That's all we need, Tua. So just hang in there, bro. Play it smart and everything will work out. So we got that going on. We got the Heat and the Bulls tonight. Looking forward to a little Heat and Bulls and Flyers and Panthers. I hate that we have a bunch of these conflicts this year with the Panthers and the Heat. I just, it sucks that I got to have two TVs on and you're like, your head's on a swivel and you're trying to keep up with everything. Just absolutely blows. But the good thing is both teams are good. Both teams should be in the playoffs. So, if we get the Dolphins into the playoffs, so now you've got your summer team that's a playoff team because Inter Miami is going to be a playoff team. Okay, they were a playoff team this year, and I thought they had a terrific season overall to get into the playoffs. The Marlins aren't going to be a playoff team forever. Okay, until they prove that they can commit. So year round, if we get back to the Dolphins being a playoff team, okay, and Mario will eventually straighten this thing out. And then your winter teams are pretty damn good. And finally, we have a summer team that can actually keep us busy in Inter Miami. And bet your ass, Inter Miami will be better next year because with Higuain gone, they will open up a spot for a DP. And if they can move Pizarro off the books, that'll be two DPs, and they'll go out and get two excellent players. And Henderson will be in charge here instead of, Beckham or something, bringing in his friend Matuidi or, a stupid move like that. So Henderson will make moves that actually make sense. So that'll be pretty cool. I think the Dolphins, look, for me, the Dolphins are a playoff team. They just got to get healthy. That's all. Get healthy and you'll be all right. You get Tua and the two tackles back this week, man, I'm feeling good. That offense will start scoring points like it was scoring points before. They haven't been scoring a lot of points in the last couple of minutes. All right, let's go. Ian Rappaport is ready with our redrecover.com look around the NFL.
Football fans, it's time to take a look around the NFL. It's the redrecover.com look around the NFL with Ian Rappaport. RedRecover.com helps pros and everyday warriors heal on the go with our medical-grade, highly specialized devices designed for each area of the body. Go to RedRecover.com to learn more about red light with videos, blog posts, and over 40 years of medical research to treat pain, inflammation, and overall well-being. Now, let's find out the latest in the NFL with one of the best reporters in the business, Ian Rappaport.
Take a look around the NFL with Ian Rappaport. How you feeling, my man? We got to get this walk.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
There we go. We got the walk-ons billboard out of. We got Drew Brees' billboard out of the way. You
I
know
like
that
walk-ons. Walk-ons is a good place.
Isn't it awesome? Have you had the ruby redfish?
I'm sure that I have. I haven't been in a little while, but
So good.
all of the like really super Cajun-y things, that's always what I get. So yes.
Oh, dude, it is so good. I get it with that loaded mash because Walk-Ons is one of our sponsors. We do our Hurricanes pre and post game shows there.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I have one and it happens to be close to my house. So I love that I only have to drive a mile to go to the to do the job. So it's a
That's
beautiful
great. I love
thing.
that.
But yeah, no, but that place is wow, dude. That is a good sports bar, brother. They do something really weird there. They actually have good service because, brother, it is hard to find good service nowadays. Post-pandemic,
It's gotten
my
tough.
Lord.
It has gotten tough.
It's gotten tough, brother. It's gotten tough. You know what's gotten tough? That NFL owners room. It's gotten a little tough there with Snyder. And, I give Irsay some credit because he's probably saying what a lot of people want to say. And, I tripped out with him saying, well, he can investigate me all he wants. And God bless Irsay. His problems already came out in public. He addressed those demons. He fought those demons and won and all that stuff. So to him, he's got, that's the question. How many of the guys are in his stage where they got nothing to hide and they say, yeah, this guy should be out.
Well, I mean, there was so many different layers of intrigue to this yesterday when Jim Irsay walked down the steps from the owners' meeting and said all of the things he said. And I think one of the more intriguing things is, there was that story about, Dan Snyder hiring private investigators to look into the past of owners and kind of have opposition research ready. Who knows? I don't know. I never independently corroborated that. I guess anything is possible, but who knows? He has denied it. But it doesn't matter because if you're Jim Irsay, your skeletons are out. I mean,
right.
Your arrest, the circumstances behind it, anything with substances that has come out, it's all out there. So, in a way, he's the perfect person to come out and talk about this because if Dan Snyder does have any sort of private investigators looking at what Irsay's like, what do you want to do? Like, hand everyone the newspaper article that already came out? Like, it doesn't matter. He's like bulletproof like that. Whereas, other owners, they'd be upset about their dirty laundry being aired. Like, Irsay doesn't care. It's all been out there. In a way, he was the perfect person to deliver the message.
So, but the question is, what's going to happen from all of this? Because if people listen, obviously there's something to hide because somehow or another, I think in a normal situation, if there wasn't anything to hide, they would have pushed this guy out the door already as it is. I mean, you're talking about one of the stories
is a lot. Getting 24 people to agree on anything is a lot.
Yeah. No, I know, but somebody that is detrimental to your league, I think it's pretty easy, to vote on that because, it's a real shame what the Redskins have become, my brother. I mean, they don't go to practices. They tarp off more and more of that stadium. It's embarrassing, really. It almost has to, somebody, I forgot who made the point, but it's really maybe it's up to now players to kind of talk about it and agents and all that. And, oh, no, I don't want to be a part of that organization. I don't want to get drafted there. I don't want to sign there. Maybe those are the kind of things that got to happen that happened to Robert Sarver with the Suns and was happening, obviously, with the Clippers. Also, that once the players and the people that actually make the league have a problem with you and don't want to be a part of your organization, then that becomes a real problem there that maybe even the owner says, okay, I can't fix this. The Dodgers, remember those two owners that they had the divorce and they lost like 1 million people. The Dodgers, they draw over 4 million every year. They were under 3, I believe, that year. And people were flipping out. And that was because of the owners and that ugly divorce that was going on. Maybe that's really what needs to happen.
Probably right. I just don't know that it will. I mean, we've seen this before where you have a coach who's not popular or an owner's not popular or a GM or another player, a locker room that's bad. And players still go there because of the money and they get offered a lot of money and they generally take it as they should, as would I. So I don't know. And I think with coaches, a head coaching job is hard, really hard. It's hard to get. It's hard to keep. So I think, there's not a lot of precedent for coaches being like, yeah, I wouldn't want to be a coach there. I mean, unless there are a lot better opportunities, and how many guys get multiple opportunities? So, I hear what you're saying. I'm just not sure that's realistic. Now, I still think it is possible that Snyder is eventually voted out. I just don't know that it's going to come like that.
So it's interesting how in basketball they're more progressive and they're willing to stand up for their rights a lot more. And I guess because of the guaranteed money and all of those kind of things empower the players.
Yeah, that's real.
Compared to football or even baseball. Baseball, they have a lot of power too. It's funny how football is one of those sports that the players don't possess the same kind of power they do in other sports. All right. Can you explain to the public out there, what is Jerry Jones hard on with Roger Goodell? Because, I mean, Robert Kraft and him almost, like Jerry reportedly said, don't F with me. And Kraft was like, excuse me? He says, don't mess with me. So I don't know. Supposedly that was an exchange. And Jerry's the one guy that is against Roger Goodell. Explain why.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that story. I don't know. I mean, there was all these stories a couple of years ago about how all the debate about Roger Goodell's compensation, which honestly don't know if anybody really cares. He makes a lot of money, whatever.
The whole league makes a lot of money.
Whole league makes a lot of money.
Yeah, everybody. Ian Rappaport makes a lot of money. Everybody makes money in that league.
Last year there was a couple of years ago, there was all this discussion about how is he going to get paid, and then he just got paid like usual, and then everyone moved on, and now it's the same, I guess, sort of thing again. I don't know. I didn't pay much attention to it. I don't even know if it's a real thing. So I will let that story live where it lives. I just don't know that I can really add much to it if it even happened.
But okay, no, not the story. What's the deal with Jerry and Goodell? Why is it he's so against Goodell?
I don't even know that he is, frankly. I mean, I know. I mean, I saw the story that was written, but in my world, the best way to do it is if I haven't corroborated it, just to kind of let it be. And they've worked together on plenty of projects. They've been on the same side on plenty of things. They communicate on a regular basis. I just, I saw the story. I don't doubt the reporting. I just don't know that it went like that. So I will leave that there.
All right. Good. All right. With the Tua situation, now obviously taking the field, what are you hearing in league circles? Not about Tua. I'm just talking about in general now, about being walking that fine line of teams not losing players when they shouldn't have to lose players. Like, they can say whatever they want about Teddy Bridgewater. There was no wobble. There was no ataxia whatsoever. It's a flat out lie that they said they saw that. And so they put Miami at a disadvantage with that. So I'm just wondering, what fine line are they trying to avoid here? Because you may cost a team a playoff position, a game, whatever, dude.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion about this yesterday at the fall league meetings, and a lot of discussion from Jeff Miller, from Troy Vincent, and members of the competition committee like Rich McKay. And the sense I got was like, the most important thing is to make sure to protect the quarterback. And it was like this in the rough and the passer situation. It's like this in the concussion situation. Protect the quarterback, protect the players, try to do the right thing by the player. If there is a case of being overly conservative, I think people are okay with that. If there's a situation where a team has a player who's taken out where it was a gray area, maybe you shouldn't, they will always take him out. So I don't get the sense that anyone is going back and being like, oh, he should not have, been put in the concussion protocol. I think it's more like, well, let's make sure we're safe. And then if it affects the team, like, we'd like to not do that, but generally it's okay because we want to keep players safe. And, I'm not so sure I totally disagree with that viewpoint, just being completely honest. It didn't help the Dolphins in this case, but overall, it's not a bad thought.
Yeah, they're all saying that now. In December and January, when it cost you a playoff spot, when it cost you a playoff opportunity, and the extra money that comes with that playoff opportunity for that owner, he's going to be incredibly pissed. And so will the coaches. Obviously, the coaches are the first ones to get pissed, but nobody ever pays attention to them. It's the owners that need to really, ruffle feathers. So I know that they're all saying it for all the right reasons now, but the moment that somebody pulls the trigger on a player, you know what I want to see? I want to see you pull Pat Mahomes. I want to see you pull Josh Allen. I want to see you pull
we had a
Aaron
situation
Rodgers.
like this.
Teddy Bridgewater is not that name, right? So you didn't take it that way. But when you pull one of those other guys, I want to see what happens then.
I mean, we've had that. We've had star players, go into the tent for quick concussion checks. And, there was one a couple years ago where Mahomes, I think he had a similar ataxia situation, but it would turn out to be his neck, and he got pulled for an evaluation. So it's going to happen.
But
how high profile
now after this incident,
I think it's going to happen. I think we are going to see one. And again, I think it's okay. The game will live on. The team will live on. Keeping players safe is important. I don't even look. The officiating gets a little looser in the playoffs. I think we know that. I'm not sure. I'm not so sure this will. But we'll be watching because, it's a topic of discussion now. It's going to be a topic of discussion in the playoffs.
How long does Dan Campbell have left?
I think he's got plenty of time. He's got a 6-year deal. Not going to pull the plug after year 2. I think they knew it would be a tough year. What they hope is that this is the kind of year for the Dolphins that it is for the Texans, where you grow your talent, you build, you have some losses, you get a good draft pick, and everyone kind of learns how to do it, and you basically set the foundation. I haven't gotten any sense it's anything besides that for Dan Campbell. It's been rough, and I think the sort of dichotomy between them on Hard Knocks, which was awesome, and them on the field, which has been not awesome.
No.
That is probably the toughest thing to take because, it's like we thought we knew him, we thought we knew the team, and now they're not very good. So I think that's kind of been odd.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of his style, bro. Mike Tice, Ray Rhodes, that rah-rah bullshit, that only goes so far, man.
Not a big rah-rah guy?
I'm not a big rah-rah guy. I'm not. The rah-rah shit dries out quickly. In the end, Ian, you've been in these locker rooms, bro. You're around agents, you're around players. They want to win, and they want to hit their incentives. They want to know what you're coaching them is paying off on the field.
Yeah.
What you're coaching is not paying off, bro. You turn those people off faster than a light bulb.
No, I would agree. And I haven't gotten the sense anyone's turned on him, but philosophically, I agree. That's the only thing that matters, especially when it gets hard late in the season. Only thing that matters.
Look at Mike McDaniel and people. It's funny because I have some fans like, oh, well, I don't know. Maybe the honeymoon's over. I'm like, have you watched the last 3 weeks? He's coached his ass off. They're in games. They have a shot to win in the fourth quarter with a whole bunch of backups. Yeah. I don't know a lot of people winning without their starting quarterback, their starting tackles, and their starting corners. I just don't know a lot of people that do that kind of stuff. And yet they're in there. They're all that. And to me, that's what sells. That's what these guys are in the locker room right now for the Dolphins are going, man, all we need to do is get a couple of our guys back. We're in these damn games. You know what I mean? Why? Because our coach.
Well, they got a good one this week.
Yeah. And they should be able to get it done. But to me, that's what sells in the NFL. You got to show them that you know how to win. And if you don't know how to win, bro, they tune your ass out. Because I've covered the Dolphins for a long time. And the last 20 years, I've had that example happen to me several times over. All right, one more thing before I let you go. Talking to a couple people around the league, there are rumblings for trades. The problem is because the entire damn league is 3-3 or right around it, nobody wants to pull any triggers yet. Are you expecting something to give after this week or next week? Because records will become a little clearer and then people will know what position that they're in. I'm told another week or two and the floodgates will open up and you'll have some trades. What are you hearing?
I mean, it's never as much as people think.
No.
There are some people who think, I've talked to a bunch of GMs about this, who basically are just like, the trade deadline's too early. Like, why is it not later? Which I get. On the other hand, it's not baseball. This is not basketball. Integrating someone into your system mid-season is really hard anyway. There are like, I like trades. They're fun and they always generate a lot of interest. But I could also make the argument that with only a couple examples, trades are basically worthless because during the season, getting a guy up to speed is really hard. Von Miller last year was a good example of, all right, that was a good trade. That worked. Pass rush, you can get in there right away without a lot. Like
a corner, right? Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, but even there's just not a
A
lot
man
of precedent. Not a lot of precedent for guys being traded and then really making an impact.
Right.
How many are there?
No, I'm with you. But
So,
the
I
guys
love
I
them.
talked to, they thought that it will happen, that a couple will happen, but they're like, okay, they've got to wait another game or two, and then they think you'll get a couple, and that's what's
Yeah,
going
I think that's probably right. Now, I mean, again, like when if you're 3-3 now and you're 3-4 next week, like you're not out of it then either. So there's so much parity. Like I think that you're right. I mean, that really has a big part in it.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. What are you working on the NFL Network so folks can check you out, my friend?
Mean, a lot of Dan Snyder. We're talking about that a lot all day, I'm sure. There's that and trades, I think, is the good stuff over the next couple of days, which will be always interesting.
You got the Dolphins over the Steelers on Sunday night?
I would like to know which Steelers show up. I don't understand them at all. They looked awesome last week without any players. I mean, I guess the Dolphins will probably win. I think Tua probably will be nice to have him back, but I don't understand the Steelers at all. If they came out and looked really good, I guess I'd be like, I don't know. They're just last week's win was very strange for me, but it was impressive.
I got some fans like, oh, Brian Flores going to go after Tua. I'm like, Terrell Austin's the defensive coordinator. He'll be making the calls. So chill out, relax. Yeah, it's like Flo's coming after him. It's like, yeah, give me a break. All right, Ian, as always, much love, my brother. We'll catch up next week, my friend. Thank you.
Look forward to it. Take care, man.
You got it. There you go. That's our redrecover.com look around the NFL. Remember, you got pains, you got surgeries, you've got scars. Maybe you're losing a little hair. Your dogs, as they get older, Red Recover and Red Light Therapy can help you in so many ways. It can optimize your workouts. You can use the wraps before and after. It can help you alleviate pain from old injuries or surgeries on your ankles, knees, shoulders, back, neck, elbows, you name it, tennis elbow. They've got wraps to take care of all, even for the dogs, even kids. It's all natural. There are no side effects, so it works for everyone. Go to redrecover.com, check out the video blogs so you can find out more, so you can relieve the pain and discomfort that you're in, like we do in our home, like Sean Stanley does, who has a knee that is bone on bone, and it relieves pain for him. redrecover.com. Use our code Big O. You will get 10% off. redrecover.com.
You've been listening to the redrecover.com look around the NFL with Ian Rappaport from the NFL Network. Redrecover.com's wraps and pads are designed to deliver maximum benefits with each treatment anywhere you go. Go to redrecover.com to learn more about Red Light with videos, blog posts, and over 40 years of medical research to treat pain, inflammation, and overall well-being. Use code Big O for 10% off. The redrecover.com look around the NFL with Ian Rappaport is mastered by executive producer Sean Stanley.
Sean Stanley. I know that guy. Hey, let's kill the misconception. We kind of talked a little bit about it before. You got to stop your friend that says, "Oh yeah, Flo's going to be coming after Tua this weekend." Flo's not coming after shit. Flo's a linebackers coach. He's lucky to have a job. Okay? They gave him a job. Hey, you got a job. Right? It's like Tony telling the guy, you want a job? Sure, Tony. Sure, I want a job. Hey, you got a job. That's all it is. That's the scene from Scarface. Okay? Tomlin was Scarface, And he's just looking at, the henchman, and he's saying, well, I just killed your boss, Sosa, because he's a Hasarai, a pig that doesn't fly straight. So you want a job? And sure, Tony, I want a job. And that's it. That's all Flo is. Let's just get that shit straight. Terrell Austin, all right, been around a while, interim coach for the Lions after they fired their head coach. The defensive coordinator for Mike Tomlin is the guy making the calls, is the guy that runs the defense. Oh, and here's misconception number 2. Well, Flo knows the offense. No, he doesn't. First of all, he doesn't know offense because he wouldn't know an offense if it bit him in the ass. Second, it's Mike McDaniel's offense, not that shit that he brought over with the Three Stooges as your freaking offensive coordinators. Are we clear on that? So the offense is completely different. A lot of the talent is different. The way they're running things is completely different. So he can't add any insight pretty much on anything. So stop already with this, again, all these narratives that you guys come up with, all these storylines that you guys invent. Brian Flores does not call a goddamn play. Brian Flores is not going after Tua. Brian Flores will be standing on the sidelines with a hat on, talking to his linebackers. That's it. Nothing more. Okay? Terrell Austin is the one that's going to call plays and who's going to rush the passer. You know what Terrell Austin needs? He needs more help from TJ Watt, who's not there, not Brian Flores, you idiots. I mean, it's the dumbest shit I see on Twitter. And then I see sometimes when they, oh, yeah, Flo's going to go after him. Flo's not the defensive coordinator. It's like some of you idiots think, like, hey, this week we've got a guest appearance as defensive coordinator. That's right, Terrell Austin. You're going to take a back seat. We're playing the Dolphins. Let's give Brian Flores an opportunity at his former team. Come on down. You're the next contestant on the defensive coordinator rotation. No, that's not how it goes. He's a linebackers coach. That's it. Okay? Not running the game plan. That's all. I love how you people make it sound. My brother, he's nothing more than the Scarface scene. He needed a job. They killed off his boss, and they gave him a job. Nobody was going to give him a job. Nobody's going to give a rat, a stool pigeon, a chihuahua the job. Okay? Mike Tomlin threw him a bone. That's what that was. They threw him a bone. No other owner is going to hire him after he throws everybody else that he works with under the bus. He backstabs the guy that hires him in Miami, and he backstabs the guy that took care of him for 16 years in New England. No one is going to hire Brian Flores. Hey, you got a job. That's it. That's what I want you to remember when you think of Brian Flores. Think of the dude from Scarface. Think of Lopez's guy. Okay? That's all. Got his little bottle of, was it Jack Daniels, right, that he was taking a sip from because he was sweating bullets because he thought he was going to get a cap in his ass? Yeah, that was it. Ernie, that's it. That's it. You want a job, Ernie? Sure, Tony. Sure. Hey, you got a job. That's it. That's a good job by remembering it's Ernie. Yeah. So, it's just funny. Like, oh, Flo's coming after him. Can you people be any silly? You know, but that's why fans are fans, because it's short for fanatical. A lot of you aren't going to be actually logical, and you're not going to be thinking logical. That's why you think silly shit like Flo's coming after Tua this week. He killed Frank, Big O. That's it. Sosa. It's Sosa, right? Frank Sosa. right? Isn't it Sosa? Wasn't it Sosa? No, it was Lopez Motors. It was Lopez. That's right. Frank Lopez, not Sosa. Sosa's the guy in Colombia, right? The cool looking dude, the smooth guy. Yeah, that guy. The guy that looks like he should be driving a Chrysler Cordoba with Corinthian leather. That guy. That's the guy that's in that's the guy that's in Colombia. Tony. Don't F with me. Yeah, that's him. Dougie Fresh says, "Oh, Flores is a coach for a D that has given up the second most yards in the league. Sure. Go get him, Flo." Que más carne ni más carne. Así viene el sandwich, man. So now we're getting lines from it. Mike Tomlin, want a job, Brian? Brian Flores, sure, Mike. Mike, good for you. Call me tomorrow. That's it. That's exactly what happened. So when you see Brian Flores, you think Scarface from now on. That's what you got to think. That's the only way to think, ladies and gentlemen. It's the best way of looking at the situation. What was I going to do here? All right. There we go. All right.
Ay, Dios mío, mira eso. Look at that one. She's beautiful, man.
That's what we got to do. Get a little Scarface going.
Voy a hacer, compadre, jamón. Ponle jamón. ¿Qué más carne ni más carne? Así viene sandwich, man.
That's it. There you go. That's it, man.
You're kidding. No. You're not kidding.
No, we're not kidding at all.
All right, big man. You want to make some big bucks.
That's it. You got Sean dropping all the Scarface. That's it. Nice. Okay.
I'm gonna carve him up real nice.
That's what Tua's saying. Huh? That's what Tua's saying about Brian Flores and that defense.
I'm gonna carve him up real nice.
That's right. That's right. And what? What about defenses? Huh? You know what Tua's saying about defenses?
You can send me anywhere. It don't matter. There's nothing you can do to me. That Castro has not
done
already done.
See? He said that defenses haven't done already. So, there you go. And then you know, Tua's going to walk onto the field and say,
I got something for you.
Yeah. That's right. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Ah, man. But you know, when Flores was applying for the job with the Steelers, he did have some communication issues.
So, what'd you tell him?
Told him what you told me to tell him. I told him when I was in sanitation. They didn't go for it.
Sanitation?
Yeah.
I told you to tell him you was in a sanitarium, not sanitation. Sanitarium, yeah.
Well, you didn't tell me.
No, I told you to say you had TB and you was in a sanitarium. You was cured.
That was. When did you tell me that?
Come on. You should have kept your mouth shut anyway.
Oh, okay.
They'd have thought you was a horse and now you out.
That's it. I'm telling you. It's what it is. That's that was a perfect scene right there with Brian Flores, you know, signing up for a job. Big O, I got a free $50 bet from one of these sports book. Give me a 100% lock for tonight. I got to look at the board. The Heat are favored by 7 tonight against the Bulls. The over and under is 216. I got to look at the board and see if there's something I like better than remember, this is an early season with the NBA. So it's kind of hard to figure out, you know, what's what here when it comes to the NBA. But we will look at it. Let me see if I can figure something out for Jew. Okay. I hate talking about Flo. I hope Tua puts 40 on that D. He will. They'll get, once you get Tua now back, now you get to actually scoring.
Ay, Dios mío, mira eso. Look at that one. She's beautiful, man.
So, yeah, that's it. It's beautiful. Big O, did you hear about the new Twister movie coming? No, I did not. No. But they're making a new tornado movie now. The late oh God, what's his Paxton. So they're redoing that movie. They redo everything. MacGyver, Hawaii Five-0. There is no creativity whatsoever in Hollywood at all. Let's remake 90210 and let's remake everything, dude. They haven't brought back MASH yet? No Cheers? Could do that. So I'm looking at this at the line here to see if I can get you something that I would really, really like, overall. Let's see. Interesting. That's an interesting one. I got to tell you, I kind of like the Detroit Pistons giving 3 at home to the Orlando Magic. The Pistons they've got a nice group of players. The Magic are the Magic. They're always inconsistent, and it's a road game for them. Kind of like the Pistons laying 3 only in that game. I think that's actually a pretty good one right there. That's not bad. Trying to look at some of the other ones that I would like in this game, in this evening tonight. Spurs and Hornets. Problem is Spurs trade away some guys that if they wouldn't, it wouldn't be picking if they would have traded them away. But I don't know what I'm going to get from the Spurs. I know that that Pops will coach his ass off, but I need to know more about it. And the Hornets have enough that they can surprise a team like the Spurs. It's kind of hard, let me tell you. I'm looking around at what's out there. Suns and Mavericks. Suns by 4.5 is not bad. The over 216 is also, that's actually a bet I like better for the Suns and Mavs is over 216. But you know what? I'm going to go Detroit -3 against the Magic. I'm going to ride that one. All right. In our Lenny lockdown segment, I'm going to go Pistons -3. Okay. Versus Orlando at home. Okay. There you go. That's my lock. Big O, can you give Sean some free time so we can get the Square Circle Digest back? Yeah, he's got lots of free time. By the way, Sean, 1-1 last night. Jericho came through, but Paige did not, if I'm correct, right? That's how it went yesterday, right? I think I looked it up. So Jericho once again did not fail me. Rock on. And then, unfortunately, yeah. Paige did. Paige didn't get it done. So, Sean, when are you doing a wrestling show? Because you're slacking off, bro. People want wrestling. You're not talking wrestling,
Man,
bro.
we'll be back after football season.
That sucks. Oh, God. The Finns have been in Miami for 60 years. Why is the media now freaking out about the Heat being dangerous? Who's freaking out about that? Again, sensationalism, Muzi. Why are we worried about that? You know what I mean? Who gives a shit? That's part of the game. There's heat, there's rain, there's snow. Again, I don't know. What can I tell you? Oh, go check out Die Hard 43. They thought he was too old to perform and left him for dead, but he's not ready to die hard. Go see Blood Red, Blue Pill Hard. Yeah, sucks. Ekblad is injured yet again. Well, but here's the thing. At least he's consistent as hell, right? It's death, taxes, and an Ekblad injury. Those are the things that you can count on guaranteed. Death, taxes, and Aaron Ekblad breaking down. I mean, that's what he does for a living, bro. You know, that is one that is terrible. By the way, EJD Construction, a proud sponsor of our program. We love Eric and the great people there. Let me tell you something. You need custom home construction, major home remodeling. I'm not talking about a handyman. I'm talking about you need to redo that roof. We got a lot of people in South Florida right now that they need to redo their roofs, and they're not getting the insurance coverage because their roof is too old. You call EJD Construction, and they can modernize that roof and get it up to code. So that way you feel safe, your house is safer, and guess what? You're insured. Is that awesome or what? EJD Construction, folks. You need to add a second floor to your house. You need to add a room to your house. You want to modernize that kitchen. You want to build an entire kitchen and barbecue in the back like he did. He built this beautiful hut. It's not like the tiki ones, but it's kind of like a I always forget to ask him what the hell's the name of that damn hut. And so he's got the whole kitchen, the whole barbecue, grease trap, everything. It's badass. By the way, that listener should invite us over for a cookout there, man. That is, I'd love to build one of those. Wouldn't know how to use it, but at least I could show it to people and say, hey, you know how to cook? Go ahead. Anyway, call the great people at EJD Construction, folks. They do it all, and they're fully licensed and insured, okay? Do not bring anybody into your home that is not licensed and insured. You need the right people that can design the right plans for you. They can get the permits for you. They can get everything done the right way, okay? So if you're going to call Pepe and do it under the, under the table, that's not going to work out. That's going to cost you a lot more in the long run. Call EJD Construction. Call Eric and tell him that Big O sent you. 305-433-4843. Big O looks like Ron Jeremy. Well, in some aspects, you're right. Big O, do you happen to know what type of tests Tua had to take to come back and play after suffering that scary injury against the Bengals? Brian, dude, I know exactly what happened. Yo, Tua, how many fingers? Tua, fingers. Okay, that's it. You're good. Let's go. That's all. He's ready to play. Tua, fingers. Okay, you're ready to go. And then an hour later, they come back. Hey, Tua, how many fingers? Tua, fingers. You're ready to go. And then prior to the game on Sunday night, after warm-ups, they'll walk up to him and they'll give him one more test, sir. How many fingers? Tua fingers. And that's it. He went to go see 2 head specialists outside of everything that he had to do. He had to travel to different cities to go see the 2 head specialists. He walks in, sat down with him. They said, how many fingers? He said, Tua fingers. And he was cleared. So that is exactly the tough testing that he had to go through to make sure he was cleared to play on Sunday. That dude probably could have played against the Jets. Could have played against the Vikings. Whatever. What can I tell you? But next time you see him, ask him, how many fingers? And that's it. And if you ever get concussed, just look at the person and then say, how many fingers? And once they do that you by the way, we can now make you an official spotter and physician in the NFL. Because once you learn how to go like this, you're automatically already in. So I don't know. It's tough. Can you do this? Now, it's not like this. It's got to be like this because you got to try to trick them. If you go like this, they kind of see, you got to go like this. So they got to kind of tilt their heads a little bit like the RCA dog. Tua. And that's it. Okay? So that's the trick. It's like this. Don't do it like this. You won't pass the test. The NFL will not allow you to work for them. It's got to be a little bit of a twist. Just saying. Okay? Eichenberg struggles. What happens with Eichenberg? I personally have not been happy with that. The good thing is you're going to get Armstead back. It looks like it. It looks like maybe you're going to get Austin Jackson back. So that looks pretty good. You get your tackles back. And maybe you can hide Eichenberg a little bit in between Connor and Armstead. But if he doesn't play well, when do you start to make a change? And Robert Jones is probably the guy to give you the heads up that will probably come off the bench if they do that. I think with Dieter, they've got him actually more backing up Connor. So they've got him psyched into that center spot just in case something happens to Connor. So Robert Jones will be the guy that probably gets the nod over Dieter. That would be my guess because Dieter, obviously, they've got him focused on being the backup center. So if you got Jones ready to go, why haven't they given him a shot? What is it that they see in Dieter, in Eichenberg that we don't see? Because, I've told you I'd like to see Dieter, but Dieter's probably more on the center side, so he's not going to be the guy that gets the first nod. It'll probably be Robert Jones. But the question is, when do you pull that trigger? What are the coaches seeing that we're not seeing? Because I'm not seeing a guy that deserves to start, quite frankly. I think he's a tackle at best. I don't look at him as a guy that can play the guard position and be the mauler that you need at that spot. It's interesting. Really is really interesting what's going on with Liam Eichenberg because getting Tua back, you worry about protection. And I worry more about Tua because, damn it, you got to stop hanging on to the ball, young man. Please let go of the damn ball. All your major injuries are from holding on to the ball, dude. Please. This team can go to the playoffs, can go deep into the playoffs. That way, some of you will stop being little bitches and worried about the losses or the offense right now or anything like that. They'll score points once they get him going. They'll start winning games once they get him back in there. But we need Tua to be smart. All right, folks, I told you that we'd go till 11. I'm taking off. Tua talks at 11:50. So we are going to Blaze. We will see you this afternoon. Tua will be on at 11:50. You can go watch it if you want, but we will go out there to ask him the question that needs to be asked. Okay? So some of us have to go out there and make sure that we do the job the right way. So we will go and get the answer that I know I'm already going to get. Yeah, I know. I've got to do a better job. I'm going to work on it, yada, yada, yada. In the end, it won't matter. It's what he does on the field is what will prove to us if he finally gets it. But we'll see you this afternoon, okay? We'll be back this afternoon after we talk to Tua, all that good stuff. Matt Verderame will join us at 4 o'clock. So second part of the program coming up this afternoon, Sean Stanley. We thank him. We thank Ian Rappaport. And, of course, Ira Winderman and Kurt Heelan. If you missed any of that, you can rewind and check it out. We will see you this afternoon after we come back from Dolphins camp and talk to Tua. Y'all have a good one out there. Appreciate you all.